This video is for those that are freight brokering and are actively doing sales outreach to shippers. If you're not doing sales outreach, if you don't want to stay consistent with trying to get new business, it's not even worth watching this video. Just keep it moving. But this is going to be a little bit more of a structured sales process that we can walk you through. My name is Josh Lyles. I'm the founder for Salesdash CRM. We are one of the only CRMs out there that's focused strictly for freight brokerages. CRM software, if you're not aware, is customer relationship management software. Think of it like it's basically, most people in their Google Sheets start off by tracking name, email, phone number, notes when you contacted somebody. A CRM makes it just so much easier for you to know who you reached out to, when you reached out to them, what you spoke with them about. And then CRMs like Salesdash also allow you to email your shippers directly out of the CRM, call out of it with integrations like Ring Central and those things. But in this video, we're strictly talking about sales process. And there's a couple reasons why. But number one, your goal as a freight broker when you're selling is going to be to move freight for shippers, right? That's the goal. The goal is to basically build a partnership with them. And it's tough because it's competitive. There's a lot of freight brokers that are reaching out to these shippers. And for anybody that's actually made these calls, going out to shippers, you know that they've said, hey, we get these calls 20, 40 times a day and whatnot. And I'll back up for context. I previously come from freight brokerage. I was head of sales for 2 different freight brokerages, also head of operations at one point. And then before that, I was at Tesla for 3 years, kind of in their earlier days as a sales advisor, sales manager for Tesla. So going back to the freight brokering, your goal is going to be to move freight, right? Well, the first thing is you have to do activity. And this is where a lot of freight brokers that start off, they know that there's a big bag that you can get after, a lot of money that you can potentially make, but there's a lot of work that goes into this. And if you're not willing to do the calls, the emails, social DMs, write letters to customers, visit customers, go knock on their door, get them pizza, donuts, whatever it may be, you have to not only do this, you have to do this consistently. And this is where CRMs help because the many freight brokerages, top freight brokerages that are out there, if you go to Transport Topics and look at the top 10, top 20, and if you were to talk to any sales rep that works there, in their earlier days, especially historically, they would do 75, 100, 125, 150 activities a day. And if you're willing to, do 20 or 40, but then you just stop, it's not going to really help. So this is what many freight brokers do. They start off in spreadsheets or pen and paper, good old fashioned pen and paper. They do some really generic outreach, just, hey, here's what I do. I'm a transportation provider. Let me move your freight. But then they also don't do enough volume. You don't do enough sales activity. You think that one outreach will do it and then, you can move from there. But the reality is that one call and one email is just not going to cut it. And if you think that this is that kind of world, you need a reality check that it's going to take conversation after conversation because you're not the only one that knows that there's a lot of money to be made in this industry. And it takes time to develop really good relationships. And you should be challenged that if somebody does let you in on the first call or the first email, they're probably going to be willing to do that with anybody else that's reaching out to them. So we're going to talk pipeline management. You may or may not have heard of what this looks like, but essentially what pipeline management is it's really your customer acquisition journey, right? And what a lot of people do when they say, hey, I've got these leads that I'm managing, they say, this one's cold, this one's warm, this one's hot. Big pause there because there's not really much context that goes into that. There's not much that you're identifying of what makes them cold versus hot. Hot would be obviously they're ready to buy, right? But what does that actually mean? What does that entail? Especially in a freight broker world because you're providing a service, you're not selling a product, right? So we want to build this out. What does the actual shipper journey look like when I'm a freight broker, I'm doing sales outreach, and I'm trying to onboard somebody? So we're going to talk through how you even manage this, especially like in a CRM and why it's even important. But most of the time, you're going to have over 100 accounts, over 100 shippers that are in your name that you're going to contact. I recommend anywhere from 100 to 150. When I managed my teams, my sweet spot was at 125. I think if you're a more seasoned vet, you should be at around like 75. If you're newer into the industry, you need to work your way up a little bit higher to get the repetitions in. But the reason why you want to limit your number and not go to, let's just say 1,000 accounts is because you need multiple touch points to the shippers. So from my experience, I'm speaking from experience, go talk to some other successful brokers. 100 to 150 accounts in your name has been the sweet spot. Pipeline deals. These are going to be the ones out of this large list, 100 to 150. There's going to be a small number that you're actually qualified, that you've actually qualified, that are potentially closer to closing, but also you're just genuinely more excited about because you had a conversation with them. So there's going to be this number of probably 3 to 8 that you're actually excited about. And there's reasons why. So what would that potentially be? So instead of the cold, warm, and hot, this is when you first sign up for Salesdash, for example, the way that we have this managed, but you can customize this to your own language and whatever works best for you. I'm here to kind of walk you guys through what I think is a pretty structured, really simple 4-step sales process. So these 4 steps are: number 1 being discovery, number 2 pains and needs, number 3 pricing, number 4 setup paperwork. And this is going to all lead you to being onboarded as a broker or carrier to start moving some freight for a shipper as a sales process. So number 1 with discovery, what does that mean? Well, it's more qualifying information. First thing would be equipment types. Do they move dry vans, reefers, flatbeds? What are you going after? You want to try to align with what you want to focus in. The second is going to be modes. Is it full? Do they move full truckload, LTL, partials, intermodal? What does that look like? What's their average volume? Are they moving enough volume that is a reasonable amount for you to continue to pursue them? Or is it maybe too much for you to handle and you would actually potentially need a team and maybe you need to come back to them? Do they do spot or contract freight? I'm sure you're probably better at one or the other, but you're going to need to know, are they moving spot freight, or are you going to have to submit a bid? And then the last is, who's the decision maker and who is the person that you need to be speaking to that can even get you onboarded as a carrier or a broker. So that's first. It's some just important information that you need to know to basically understand, is this even an opportunity worth going after? Pains and needs. Now, so the whole premise of this is, what's the purpose of them even bringing you on as a carrier? And one of the good things to know is your competition. How many carriers are they currently working with right now? But again, the biggest thing is, what's the purpose of them bringing you on? What value as a broker are you going to actually provide to the shipper as to why they should bring you on? Is it communication? Is it responsiveness? Is it missed pickups? Is it because the wrong equipment types get sent in? What value are you going to provide, and what's the purpose for them even looking at you when you're coming in? Because that's going to be the communication that you want to drive towards them, of you trying to relieve some kind of pain for them to basically push you across the line to become a broker or carrier for them. The third here is pricing. You know what to do here. It's pretty simple, straightforward. You got to get some lanes. You got to quote some lanes. So that's pretty simple, straightforward. But I would say if the other 2 line up and you feel a good fit after discovery, and there's some challenges, pains, needs that you need to price and make sure that your pricing aligns and is something that they're willing to accept. And then the last stage is going to be set up paperwork. So with this, a lot of times as a broker, you're going to send over a credit app for them to fill out, or as a shipper, some of them have their own contracts that they want you to review and sign, and you may have to do the fun stuff of having a lawyer review it or you review it and go through the redlining process. But typically it's one of those 2 things, and then that's what's going to get you to the point to be onboarded as a shipper. Now, here's an example in Salesdash of creating a deal into your pipeline. You can name the deal. It could be an RFP. It could be spot freight for a specific location. This is just an example, but we also have some qualifying questions of, is it a contract spot opportunity? What's the volume? What's the seasonality? What's the competition look like? So that gives you a good idea in terms of what you need to do to actually manage your pipeline in the CRM. So again, pipeline management, this is going to help you actually have more of an actual sales process for your customer acquisition strategy, for going after shippers. Cold, warm, and hot's not going to cut it. You got to be doing activity. A CRM is a really good way for you to manage all of this. So with this, you can visit our website at sales-crm.com. You can schedule a demo. I'll probably be the one that talks to you to go through the CRM. We have other videos that are here on YouTube. It is a CRM that is built specifically for freight brokers by freight brokers. I come from the industry myself. It is already templated out so you can profile and qualify shippers. You can integrate your email with Gmail or Outlook so you can email shippers. It'll track the open so you know if it's actually getting into their inbox and if they're opening it. You can integrate with Ring Central for click to dial, and you can also try it free for 14 days. Try it free, get your email integrated, start shooting out some activity. if you're not going to do the activity, I just wouldn't even waste your time. But it is something that could be really fruitful for you if you do it correctly. And I'm more than happy to support anybody that's going down that venture to try to make it as a freight broker. That's the reason why we have this. We want Salesdash to be the best sales engine possible for you. And I think that you could see a lot of value out of it if you're willing to put in the work. I think the system, you'll start to see those rewards benefited as time goes on. My name is Josh. Schedule a demo or go ahead and try Salesdash for free, and we'll connect if freight brokering is something you're serious about. Cheers.